Did you know that it's a crime for you to plant seeds from the foods you eat? This definitely doesn't make sense, right? Considering that plants were not made by people, so no person or company can claim to own them. But it's true. Companies like Monsanto, Syngenta, Stark Iris, Seedco, DuPont, Corteva, and many others around the world own rights to our food. And so, you have to buy from them before you plant any crops. And if you ever decided to save any seeds after harvesting, you will be sued and literally punished by law. This has already happened to many farmers around the world.
As far as we could tell, he's the oldest man in the world to ever have been sued for saving seeds since God created seed.
Saving seeds from nuts, berries, vegetables, grains, herbs, and flowers has been the traditional way farms and gardens have been maintained by people for thousands of years. Why do companies have the right to own seeds? This started around the 1930s.
The US Plant Patent Act was signed and it became possible to patent a sexually reproduced plant stock.
Technically speaking, companies don't own the natural original seeds created by God. However, they own hybrid and GMO seeds, which they make from altering original seeds and market to farmers as being the more profitable seed options. But this has over the years quickly caused the disappearing of local original free seeds, as the marketing causes farmers to only grow maize corn, soybeans, wheat, bananas, watermelons, and everything that is famous in the supermarket, using seeds bought from these companies.
One of Monsanto executives said that this is not just the consolidation of the seed sector, this is the consolidation of the entire food chain.
All original free seeds are in the process of disappearing, and eventually everyone will only be able to obtain seeds through buying from these few corporations that will literally be the owners of our food. Groups like the Seed Sovereignty and Food Justice Movement advocate for the right of people to define their own food and agriculture systems, and through them, some countries like Mali, Bolivia, and Ecuador adopted the Declaration of Nyeleni to be the solution that, quote, offers a strategy to resist and dismantle the current corporate trade and food regime. These movements are worried that corporations aim to one day own all seeds to fruits, vegetables, and grains to control people through food, and that some corporations put indigenous farmers from developing countries in a trap that begins with free distribution of seed to the farmers through the government for them to abandon growing their local seed varieties, only for the corporations to possess all their local seeds and begin selling to the same farmers at a later time. Vandana Shiva is a very outspoken advocate against the corporate food monopoly and genetic modification that reduces the quality of crops. In her words,
my life actually has been determined by this crazy idea that the Monsantos of the world have invented the seed and therefore can own it and have a patent on it. I was at a meeting in 1987 where the corporations laid out their future plan. The old chemical company said we've got to do genetic engineering because only by doing genetic engineering can we take patents. Their objective was patents. They never talked about food. They never talked about hunger. They never talked about feeding the world then. It's much later when the criticism started that they came out to say, oh, but we're feeding the world. Don't ask us to stop GMOs because people will starve if we don't sell GMOs. I have personally experienced what this patenting does. We have lost 291,000 farmers to suicide because of the debt created for costly seeds and chemicals. We've seen a monopoly in cotton, which was our fiber of freedom, when Gandhi pulled out the spinning wheel and spun. We are witnessing an ecocide with the butterflies going, the bees disappearing, biodiversity going, farmers disappearing, and no real food anywhere. So the GMO myth that this is the solution to feeding the world is exactly that. It's a myth. It's not science.
The growing preference of organically grown food instead of commercial and processed foods by thousands of people around the world has been working as a glimmer of hope to bring back the practice of farmers growing local original seeds, leaving a people with the right to freely grow their own food.
The locally grown food movement is about several things. It's about getting better food and fresher food and not having thousands of miles of transportation involved. But it's also about community. It's also about the kind of community that you want to live in. I like the idea of knowing the people who are growing my food, and I love the idea that I can go and visit the farm and see it myself.
I think it's beyond just telling people to eat organic. Now it's about who's growing your food, are they part of your community, are they invested in the health of the community, and how can we get communities to own their food system? It's a way to help transform society.
Social activism does not need to be going out in the middle of the street and banging on a drum. Social activism can be making a good meal.
Organic agriculture was built with absolutely no help from the government, no help from any institutions. It was really consumers and farmers working together, making that bridge themselves.
What we've come to now is a recognition of responsibility. That's a delicious future.
Did you know about this? What do you think should be done about this? Let us know in the comments below. Oh, and did you know that in the past 50 years, many foods have gotten bigger and at the same time lost half of their nutrients? Learn more about the nutritional value of the foods we eat in the next video.